Going in games. Hey everybody, it's all the Wibz, and today we're going to be bringing you some deck techs. Now first off, we have mine, which is of course Bant Superfriends. You may have seen me playing it in some of the gameplay videos that we posted up. And I'm going to be showing you guys my list, which recently top 8'd a TCG Player Silver event. Now it's a little different than ones you may see online. I'm actually running a few more creatures and some delicious one-ofs that a lot of people aren't. So I'll give you the reasons for all that stuff, but let's get on with the list. But first off, we've got creatures. Now we got 1 Aetherling, 1 Prognostic Sphinx, 3 Sylvan Caryatid, Planeswalkers, 4 Jace Architect of Thought, 2 Kiora the Crashing Wave, 2 Elspeth Sun's Champion, spells, 2 Syncopate, 3 Dissolve, 2 Azorius Charm, 1 Selesnya Charm, 1 Celestial Flare, 4 Detention Sphere, 4 Supreme Verdict, 4 Sphinx's Revelation, and I don't always go into lands, but I suppose it's important I should. Now we're running 10 temples. We got 4 Temple of Enlightenment, 3 Temple of Mystery, 3 Temple of Plenty, loads of shocks, 4 Hallowed Fountain, 4 Breeding Pool, 2 Temple Garden, 1 Lonely Island, 2 Plains, and 3 Mutavault. Alright, so you're wondering first off, I'm playing a control deck, and as you've seen, most people are either running blue-white, or blue-white little splash black, and just, I mean, they call it Esper, but there's like, what, 3 cards? I suppose I shouldn't go into something like that, because this is Bant, and I'm running, I don't know, like, maybe 5 cards that are green in the main? Now let me tell you about why I'm running those 5 cards. First off, Kiora. Kiora, damn house. She is, without a doubt, the single most potent win condition of this deck. With the Caryatids, you can ramp Kiora out to turn 3. Now this is really potent because you can either use her to minus and put out an extra land and just get ahead of your opponent even more, or you can plus her up and lock down like a really early threat. But whenever you get to lock down that one threat, they have to commit more to the board. You're going to have Wrath, you're going to sweep away everything, and the game is going to be yours. Once you get to Kiora's ultimate, that's it. That's the game. The game is ended. They scoop. Krakens for days. Now most other variants of control, they're going to go toward Elspeth, and they'll be running her in larger numbers. I'm only running 2 in my list. Most blue-white and blue-white-black lists are running 3. Now she definitely goes over the top. She does a whole bunch of things that you want a control deck to be doing. She can wrath the board of their larger creatures, and of course she just makes dudes, a constant stream of dudes that you really don't have to fear about wrathing away because you can just put more back on the same turn. And then there's Jace Architect of Thought. This is without a doubt the single best way to dig through your deck, the best source of card advantage in Standard right now, and it's just something you want to see every game. Against aggro strategies, you're just plussing, especially against mono blue, just plus for days until you can hold out and get something that you really need. But most of the time you're going to be playing him and you're going to be minusing him and just getting so far ahead on cards that it's going to be really hard for your opponent to do anything at all. Now one of the big problems that the deck has, and is the reason for one of these one-ofs, is Obsidat. Obsidat's a bitch. I'm not gonna lie. He resolves and you're probably just dead. Which is the reason for those one-of includes. Now I have 1 Selesnya Charm, which gets a whole bunch of threats in the format. It's a really solid card, and you can use the other modes pretty effectively. You can win Mutavault Blockdown Wars if you really need to get through to a Planeswalker on something. I mean, it breaks through Sylvan Caryatid, which is good enough. You can make a dude at the end of turn if they have a Planeswalker that you need to attack, like a Domri Raid or a Xenagos or something. Or if you just need the block and just make sure that you don't take that one little bit of lethal damage, if you can conceivably, you know, get back ahead on the next turn. Now Celestial Flare I run over 1 Last Breath like a lot of decks do because it's a little bit more versatile for the bigger threats of the format, like Obsidat. It also gets Mistcutter Hydras if for some reason people are running them in the main, and mono green decks do sometimes, so it's weird. I ended up cutting down 1 Dissolve just because I don't like getting my hand full of them. A lot of times you'll finally get your Sphinx's Revelations and be real happy, and it'll be closer to the late game. And they have a lot of things on board that you're worried about, and you're just trying to get more of your removal and threats and stuff. But you end up getting a handful of Dissolves, and that was just annoying me to no end. So it got cut for other sort of bullets, like the Selesnya Charm, like the Celestial Flare, like the Prognostic Sphinx, which I'm going to get to. Now, Prognostic Sphinx is going to seem like a weird include, and it is, but it's awesome, it's fun, it's versatile, and it should really be seeing a lot more play than it is currently. Scrying 3 every turn is awesome. Let me tell you how many late game stalemates I've been in, where all I had to do was resolve this guy, discard all the useless land cards I have in my hand, and just constantly dig through my deck for the thing I need. It's really powerful. It blocks a lot of really important threats like Stormbreath Dragon and most of Mono Blue's flyers. And things from black-white, like Blood Baron of Viscopa, sure, they're still gaining life, but the fact that you're not taking 4 damage is huge. One Aetherling is obvious. It's probably the best single control creature that's ever been printed. It's incredibly versatile. Pretty much if you resolve it, it's going to stay on the field and it's going to do well for you, or it's going to empty their hand until eventually you can. My list has cut down Azorius Charms to next to nothing with just 2 because it's a versatile effect, but it's something that you just get clogged in your hand late game. Sure, it's always a cantrip if nothing else, but I found in playtesting that it's more of a cantrip than anything else. Celestia Charm and Celestial Flare are almost always better at getting rid of the creature. So I just cut that down and made room for the stuff that I could really use. I should talk about the distinct 4-ofs in this deck, because every control deck is running these, and every control deck pretty much needs to be running these. You have 4 Supreme Verdict, and that's because it's a house. It's unbelievable. It's probably one of the best Wraths ever printed, and just the fact that you can't be countered in this format is fabulous. 4 Detention Spheres, just because there's so many problem permanents, especially things like the Gods, Thassa, Underworld Connections, Master of the Waves, Pack Rats. That's fun. People always discard their card. They're like, dude, make another Pack Rat. And you're just like, it's still called Pack Rat, dude. WTF. Now, the lands really aren't all that interesting, but it's important to mention that we want to have at least 10 of the temples, because the Scry effect is incredibly important early in the game. This deck almost never needs to mulligan as long as you have a temple in your hand. Especially with the Caryatids. Now, the Caryatids you'll find in this list, once again, over the last breaths, just because they constantly block Mutavaults forever. And they also serve the secondary purpose of just getting you further ahead. Like I said, Cures played on turn 3 win games. Moving the sideboard stuff, because this is where it really gets spicy. 1 Elixir of Immortality, 1 Fated Retribution, 1 Heroes Reunion, 1 Scavenging Ooze, 2 Unravel the Aether, 2 Gainsay, 2 Mistcutter Hydra, 2 Bow of Nylea, 2 Negate, 1 Celestial Flare. Now, the Elixir's there for obvious reasons. You're going to get in control matchups, they're going to go long, you're going to need to be able to recur a lot of your effects. Elixir of Immortality also comes in against decks that just do a whole lot of damage, something like Mono Blue, something like Red, that I'm just going to need the 5 life as well. Fated Retribution is a bullet card against so many decks right now. Monsters, just get rid of all of the Planeswalkers and their creatures. Oh dude, what are you doing? Oh, I'm playing against Mono Black? Oh, they don't have anything except for 3 Mutavaults out. Fated Retribution on their turn blows them out every time. Now, the 1 Heroes Union is that's a very polarizing choice. A lot of people don't like it. A lot of people say it's bad, but you know what? Sometimes it's better than Negate. I'll be in a situation where I'm playing against a red deck that almost has me dead. I have a Sphinx's Revelation in my hand that I could cast for maybe like 4, but you know what? I think I'm going to cast it for 2 because I got a Heroes Reunion in my hand. I cast that for 2, they Skullcrack in response, I Heroes Reunion and gain 7 life. I walk out way ahead. Sure, they sort of 2-for-1 me, but then I get to take all of my cards, and now I'm just out of range of, like, another Skullcrack. So pretty much, it's just in there for the red and white burn matchup, because that is our hardest matchup without a doubt. Got 1 Scavenging Ooze, because people are playing graveyard stuff. You got the black-green Dredge deck going around, you got Junk Reanimator making a comeback, and you need to have options for that. Rest in Peace is kind of inelegant, but Scavenging Ooze helps you just keep something on the board, so that you can bash if you need to. And in case you run into one of those decks, you can exile all of their things from their graveyard and just get way ahead. 2 Unravel the Aether are there in place of 2 Revoke Existence because I like it. I mean, I'm running green, why not get instant speed effects? Now granted, they do get a shuffle effect and they have the opportunity to redraw the card that you just got rid of, but the fact that it's instant speed makes all the difference. 2 Gainsay, because you can come up against control mirrors and you definitely come up against the mono blue matchup, and this card is just a house in both. 2 Mistcutter Hydras, because nothing beats blue better. This is the single best card against blue in the format. If you want to win games against mono blue, you should put this card in your sideboard. 2 Bow of Nylea. This is another rather polarizing one, but in testing, it's been pretty nice. I do have a tendency to bring this in against sort of random matchups just based on how my opponents play. If I'm coming up against a deck that has pretty much no way of dealing with my Mutavaults, then this card's going to come in and I'm just going to make my Mutavaults huge with it. It comes in almost every single time against mono red and red burn just for the gain life. 3 life for 2 mana effectively just counters one of their lightning strikes every single turn. And that's a lot. That means a lot to them. They need to have every card kill you from the start of the game. So you start negating those cards and then, I mean, there's no way for them to get draws. you're just going to end up coming out on top, and it's really solid, and it's almost impossible for them to get rid of. Two Negate's pretty much obvious. I mean, it's a control deck. You have opportunities where you can bring them in because they're more solid counters, they're hard counters, for specific decks you're going against. So if you're coming up against Red, White, Burn, or you're coming up against Control, you're definitely going to want to bring these in maybe over Dissolves or Syncopates, or actually probably over things like Sphinx's Revelations and stuff. You want to take down the top end of your deck and bring in things like Negates, Bove, Nylea, and Elixir. Oh, and the Heroes Reunion if you're playing against Red, for instance. So that you have the opportunity to just try and get the best opening hand you can and just live through their onslaught. Alright, so that's the list. I hope you guys play it. I hope you have a hell of a lot of fun with it because I know I do. We're going to be bringing you guys some more deck lists and stuff and a lot more gameplay coming up. So hopefully you get to see this deck, you'll get to see it as changes progress because there's still changes in here from whenever I just played it the other day, whenever we recorded all those videos. So it's always a work in progress, and that's what Magic decks should be. So guys, comment, like, subscribe. We always take feedback. If you guys want to see decks, if you guys want to see us play decks, just tell us, and we'll do it for you. Wibz out.